The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Here we go. It's P.M.P. It was 2-2. It was a bit nervy, a bit tetchy, but in the end, it's Celtic who leave Mordor happy. And that's the key. The pursuit of happiness, guys, is winning the league title at the end of the day. And that is what I think now we have achieved. I know there might be different views between you two on that. Terry called it fucking about 6 months ago. But I definitely think now we can breathe a bit easy. It was a bit of a mad game, and we're going to get right into it. Obviously, we'll be talking about decisions made at the start, decisions made in-game by our manager. VAR, is it there? Is it no there? They can't make their mind up on that one. And we'll talk about, obviously, a couple of goals for Celtic and what the decision, what the outcome of it, sorry, I should say, not the decision, just got decisions in the heat. What the outcome of a 2-2 result actually means going forward. I'm joined by Terry Robb and the judge Mark Kearney, the face of P.M.P. and the judge. You can't ask for more than that, guys. And if you are watching live, do hit that like button. Get us the old traction. We came on a wee bit later. I know there's loads that go out live at the same time straight after the game. So we've had a chance to compose ourselves, smoke a cigar, all that shit. If you want to be a subscriber, so many have joined already today. By the way, the numbers are flying. So if you do hit that subscribe button, it's all free. If you want to become a Boise Bus member, totally optional. But brilliant to have so many watching live already as well. Right, Terry, overall reaction. We'll go into the nitty-gritties, into the other points, but overall reaction, 2-2, -9, still outside, 20 goals clear.
Well, so you get to my age, you don't need games like this, honest to goodness. My word, honestly. I was messaging a few of the guys last night, Mark and that, whenever I had a drink in me, I started messaging people. Honest to God, I was sick in my stomach. I'm like this with these games all the time. I started to pick the nerves up the day before. I get really sick feeling my stomach. I woke up this morning, couldn't eat nothing. I was up. I couldn't have went on to the pre-match show with you. Honest to goodness, my heart was like a fucking cement mixer.
What's that?
Just nervous about the game. It's just one of those games. It just gets me. It gets me now at age 45 the same way as it did whenever I was age 9. This game is just, it's like no other match on earth in the world. Certainly for me, it's not. And honestly, my stomach was going like a cement mixer this morning. I got up, I had the cure. I was running to the toilet all morning, all the usual stuff. And I says, I'll message Boise here and I'll go on the pre-match. And then I was going, nah, fuck, I'll be sick on screen or something. Just so nervous. I was messaging Mark last night and I was saying, I just get this real nervous feeling about this game. And I would have took a draw. I'd have bet your hand off for a draw last night. Then the game starts.
It's probably for messaging him that you started feeling so nervous.
The match starts. Mickey Bowes' team went hell for leather for the first fucking 10 seconds or something. Then we stamped our authority on it. Morelos with an absolutely wonderful assist for Dyson Maeda. And I think I've worked out what the situation with Maeda is. He's actually right-footed. He's not left-footed. He just hasn't fucking realised it. He's right-footed. Because when he goes to the right foot, he scores. But we were dominant. We were in control. You're starting to think this could be one of these PMPs like the one we had last season, where we went on for about 4 hours and had about fucking 10,000 people watching. And then all of a sudden, the game just turns. Greg Taylor gets injured. And again, at any stage in your life, did you ever think Greg Taylor getting injured could have such a swing in a match? But it did. Then I thought we invited pressure on ourselves. There was the Joe Hart error. And I think from that moment where Joe Hart had that fucking error that almost resulted in a goal, we were backs against the wall. We were up against it from there. And I think a lot of the trouble we had today wasn't because Mickey Bowe has got a great plan or because Rangers were up for it or anything. I just think we just brought this all on ourselves. I don't know. I felt the team selection was strange, to say the least. I just think we invited them onto us during that match. They took advantage of that, and I'm fucking absolutely delighted to get out of there still -9. Honestly, it feels like a victory. I was sitting there thinking, fucking hell, I'm going to have to go on here and sit and talk to these guys, and we've got fucking beat here. And it's, you know what it's like yourself. You're thinking, you've committed to go on here. You're going to have to go on. You're on a downer. But honestly, it feels like a victory. I'm sitting here fucking thinking this, it feels like a win. But at the end of the day, it's a draw. We played absolutely shite. But
we done it.
We're home. We're home in a boat.
We got this draw. Mark, there's overriding feeling I think I would take from Terry of relief. That's how I would describe that. I think there's a lot of relief from what Terry's saying there.
Euphoria.
Euphoria. I like it, mate. I like it. Your relief can turn into euphoria. I also think, though, there's a couple of things he picks up on there that I think are definitely huge. Obviously, the start lineup, we're going to get to that. But during the game, what we've just witnessed there was 2 moments. And I think the Taylor coming off, undeniably, I mean, they put Juranovic on and then you watch the most one-dimensional team tactic from Rangers that was so effective ever. Play it down our left, their right. And that was all they did. Now, we've seen this in Europe. We discussed it in the Champions League games where Juranovic was targeted in his favoured position of right back the exact same way. And we thought, well, maybe they've just got really good left wingers like Mudryk and stuff. But undeniably, when Juranovic went left back, it was a one-dimensional tactic and it was effective as fuck, right? And there's no getting away from that. I also thought the other moment in the game, there's an everyone is desperate for sport to become a science, Mark. And they all are convinced they can work out the game on spreadsheets, right? You cannot fathom what happened when momentum shifts the way it does when Joe Hart decides, I'm going to take half an hour on the ball here. He makes an absolute James Hunt here. His big save bails him out, but not the momentum shift. It bailed Hart out. That was a brilliant save, but the momentum had swung. The ground suddenly all started believing it. They all got noisy again. And the whole swing then, I felt we never really properly recovered from. And it's just those 2 moments, Hart's error and Taylor going off for Juranovic.
No, I think Hearts was the moment that changed the flow of the match. I think that was quite obvious. I think the Taylor injury was a result of Hearts' ridiculous decision to hold on to the ball for too long. I agree with the two of these. I think these small moments can change the flow of how our game's going, and I think the players on the park and the fans in the stand got a huge lift from Hearts' mistake. And I think, especially these matches, anybody that's ever been in a football match can tell you that the crowd can spur a team on. And you heard their fans straight away, instantly. They all stood up and they all thought, this mob army is invincible, is what they looked 5 minutes ago. And when you do that at Ibrox, we spoke about it before, when playing away from home in these matches, like with the referees and all the rest, they need the encouragement. So you got to stay disciplined, stay true to your tactics, true to what you've been learning in training all week, but sometimes you just need to punt that ball 50 yards. And I don't care what anybody says. See, if I've got a defender running down on me, I'd rather hit the ball at the stand and then take grief off of Ange Postecoglou at half time and lose a goal.
I agree with that.
I mean, and I think, and if that's not good enough for the manager, fair dues.
What's he going to do? He's not going to bring fucking Scott Bain on, is he? Like,
no, exactly, Terry. And see, the thing is, what we've learned is there's certain aspects of our game plan that won't shift, but it doesn't mean that there's wee elements in the in-play management that can be tweaked and changed. I mean, I seen a lot of it today. I mean, I'm a very big lover of Ange Postecoglou, but my feelings on the result is totally different from my feelings on the match. And I feel like the day we get away with it, I think a 2-each draw. Terry's spot on. It feels like a victory because with 87 minutes in the park, I didn't see us getting the result. Not because I thought that Celtic were just having an off day. It just looked like there was nothing in us. I mean, I seen a start with one shot on target until we scored after, and apart from the first goal. You know what I mean? That was the only shot we had. There was moments in the first half we were in the box and made the wrong decisions. That's just as good as getting a shot on target for 20 yards. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like the day we get away with it, I feel like we could have possibly won that match with better game management. I absolutely think that the two substitutions that were crying out to be made, Moy and Abada, we could have saved 2 subs by playing the guys for the start, but we'll get into that. 9 points clear, and I'm totally delighted we've got out of Ibrox with a draw. That's, to me, that's just as good as a win in most domestic games.
I agree with that synopsis. Terry, I'm going to come to Ange Postecoglou's reaction because I've got it in front of me. He said it was a great game of football. Before we get into anything else, it was a cracking game. I always find stuff like that, like, okay. He thinks we started really well, which I agree with, and we lost control of it. Mainly self-inflicted, making mistakes and errors. I agree with that. We don't usually do that. They then got some momentum, which we've just discussed, and with the crowd behind them. Then at the beginning of the second half, they took a foothold for 15 to 20 minutes. It's very easy on a day like this to resign yourself to a fate, but we haven't done that this year or last year, and we found a way. I agree with that as well. I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. He thought for the most part we handled it okay. I felt, I agree with a lot of that, and he's got to come out with some sort of positivity because at the end of the day, he knows 9 points clear. Where what have we got left? 18 games left. He's dropped points in 2 out of the first 20. He's been away to Rangers now. We've just been away as well to Hibs, Aberdeen, in that sort of winter sort of really tight congested fixture list. So I can kind of see why he's trying to do that. And at the end of the day, he's probably right. The momentum swing that we're talking about there did come from, I thought, a position of dominance. I thought Phil McGinley comes in there. He's saying the crowd were turning on them a bit.
Yeah, they were.
They were silenced. They were nervy, and we were getting a foothold in it. Joe Hart, it's easy to get, over hysterical at these sort of moments of time. And I think having a wee break after the full-time whistle to actually doing this can be beneficial, Terry, sometimes, because when your emotions are high, it's easy to go, he's the weak link. But I do think going forward, undeniably though, like the game we want to play, he's found wanting there, and it wasn't actually under any pressure. He was actually nearly about to do, he kind of tried to do a repeat of what John McLaughlin did in the reverse fixture earlier on in the season, under no pressure at all. Takes too long, wee bit of pressure on him, and makes a bad decision. That ball just needed hoofed. When it swings like that, though, it's how we recover. I just didn't feel that we did. And, I think 15 to 20 minutes at the beginning of the second half, Rangers dominate. I felt it was a wee bit longer than that. I actually didn't see the goal for Celtic coming. I was I was more concerned than, or than the relaxed nature that maybe Ange's. But it's only text in front of me. I've not seen the interview, but it was difficult.
No, the interview, everything he said there is right, by the way. Everything he said. I suppose the only thing from my perspective, I think Ange just needs to reflect possibly on the part that he played in the events this afternoon. And there were decisions that he made that may or may not have influenced how the game panned out. And as Mark said earlier, this isn't me saying I'm not questioning. Well, I am. I'm questioning some of the things the manager has done, but I absolutely love the manager. I think we've won a watch with him. I think he's a lucky manager. I think he's a lucky manager this afternoon. I think we're lucky to get away with a point. I think some of the way things transpired this afternoon are because of decisions that the manager made, both in the team selection and in the in-game management. And I think the in-game management part, I thought the Rangers players made better decisions during the game than possibly the Celtic players did at times. But going back to the manager, we've got a result, and he's going to be happy with that. Everything he said at the end makes sense to me, but there's still, I think we can still discuss some of the decisions that the manager made and try to understand where he was going with those, such as the starting lineup.
Yeah, let's start with that. Let's start with the starting lineup. When you go,
let's go. So, what was the thinking behind playing for us from the start? Someone who's been a bit part player at best, hasn't started very many matches at all. Then you're playing what you would normally see as your toughest game, Rangers at Ibrox, and you throw James in there. Now, I did listen to the pre-match interview with Ange. He did mention a bug being in the camp. So I'm prepared to accept the bug possibly has affected Abada, possibly has affected... I definitely think there's something wrong with Jota.
Yeah.
Because Jota hasn't started for the last 3 games. So I don't know what's going on with Jota. Every time there's a bug mentioned, Jota seems to be on the bench. I don't know if he's got long COVID or something, but there's something not right with Jota. There definitely is. I mean, we talked during the week. I didn't expect Jota to start the game today, but he hasn't started. He hasn't started the last 3. There's definitely something not right there. I just didn't get Forrest starting. I thought, if you're Barisic, you're awake all night worrying about Lila Bada because of what he's done. Because of what he's done in the last few games, and you realise you're not playing against Lila Bada. He's not on. Forrest playing. The Johnson one, I was surprised about, but I will hand it to Ange. I thought Johnston was superb. I thought Johnson looked as if he'd been playing for years for Celtic.
He was excellent.
He looked, and I know you don't believe me on this, but you made a point. When I hear him speak, all I think of that's Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods.
When you see his face, if he's a white Tiger Woods, his mouth and his nose.
I can't get it in my head. I was thinking it today as well.
I can't either. He just reminds me of Tiger Woods. But a big shout out for him. I thought he was superb today, and honestly, I don't think he'll ever have played in an environment like that. But he looked as if he'd been there for years. I'll be honest as well. Whenever Taylor got injured, I was thinking, what would I do? I'd bring on Juranovic. He's a World Cup bronze medalist. He's been playing for Celtic for a couple of seasons. He's Champions League experience. I'd have made the same decision. So as much as I thought Juranovic was a fucking car crash, I would have brought him on. I would have brought Juranovic on ahead of Bernabei. I don't know. I think we'll be lucky.
We spoke about that though, Terry, didn't we? We fancied that if Taylor wasn't fit to start, that was the conversation. It wasn't about him coming off. But we thought if he wasn't fit to start, I went, my hunch is he'll not go with Bernabei.
I'm not going to sit here and give the manager a hard time for bringing Juranovic on.
No.
But my goodness, you could not have envisaged such a poor performance. He's culpable. Mark could. But he's culpable for both.
I think he's one of the most
overrated. Let's go to the judge.
He's the most overrated player I've ever seen in my life.
What do you think he's worth now, Mark? A tenner?
I still think I think people with a lot of money are quite happy to spend it. I think we'll still get the 12-15 million. I think we'll still get that because I think he's been inflated by his World Cup performances. They wouldn't have watched him play out of position today. I dare say that will come up on a scouting report. I think they'll just chalk down his transfer fee in the club down to his World Cup displays, and they'll handpick a few big matches for last season and this season. The games that he's probably showed up not too bad in. Boyce mentioned that their manager, who was a coach under Gerrard, and we all kind of said, oh, he's quite good on the park. His in-game management's pretty good. The first thing this guy did was put Kent onto Juranovic straight away to test him. And within a minute, the guy made a mistake. And I don't think it was a surprise to anybody. I mean, it's only a surprise. I don't mean you here, Terry. I genuinely don't. It's only a surprise if you're not paying attention because he's got the mistakes in him every single match. His passing's horrific. His positioning is... I think his positioning leaves a lot to be desired at the better times. In Scotland, he gets away with it. And just one point on Bernabei, the highest fee paid by our club in 135 years for a fullback, and the guy can't even get on the park when we've got a right back who's ready to leave, who wants to leave, and he brings on somebody else instead. I've said it since day one. The guy looks like a raffle winner. I took a lot of slack for it. But if that man had any faith in that boy whatsoever, he wouldn't be getting 25 minutes against St Johnstone, 10 minutes against Motherwell. He'd been there for the start. He wouldn't be putting a Greg Taylor who was nursing a small hamstring injury.
Who you brought on yourself?
I wouldn't put play Bernabei in the 10 and 6s, mate. I would have played Juranovic. Just on no for the start. Taylor's outstanding, but in that position, there's not so much he could have done. He could have maybe tried Johnson at left back, but take Johnson off and put Juranovic at right back and try to find a solution for the left back within the team already. I mean, I don't think Hatate's played left back before he came to Scotland. I don't want to lose his talent, but he's in a poor game anyway. I think the Beale, his in-game management was pretty good. I think when we get players in Scotland, we always think they're good at finishing, they're good at heading, but there's always something missing that makes you think they're just not going to the next level, and that's why we've got them yet. Maybe Angie's chink in his armour is his in-game management. I've said it for a very long time on this channel. I don't think his in-game management is very good. His substitutions very rarely alter the match. I mean, Livingston, for talking sake, last week, 2 weeks ago now, when we were struggling to create, we were so slow in midfield, and you bring on Aaron Moy and David Turnbull. I'm sorry, but that slows the midfield down. That just you're playing against 10 men anyway. I bet you try and find more width. I'm not an expert. I mean, far from it. And forgets more than I ever know. But I'm just saying, there's wee chinks in the armour. I think today we could have won that match on the bench. I think Brendan Rodgers wins that match today for Celtic. I'm not trying to slag Ange Postecoglou. I love the guy. I've never wanted a Celtic manager to be so successful in all my life. He speaks so well. But I just think the day was a missed opportunity. A draw is a brilliant result for Celtic. As I say, my thoughts on the match are different from my thoughts on the result. The result is positive. I don't think the match was positive for Celtic at all. They lost their best left back. He's got a hamstring. He might be out for about 4-6 weeks. I'm not entirely sure how long he's going to be out for. But Johnson, I think, it's unfortunate for Ralston that he's injured just now, but I think you're going to see this boy hold that place down, because if that's his first match and he's went to Ibrox and he looked like he's played 100 matches, nobody's moving him out of the way. That guy looks brilliant. And he's what, 20, how old is he, 25? Is that right?
23, 24.
23, 24. Give that guy a season in a Celtic strip and you watch him go.
He looked really composed. He was really composed. He wasn't overawed in any way, and I was a little bit concerned. You know, this will come and there'll be a bit of stage fright here. He was absolutely superb.
Easy.
There was another decision in the starting lineup that we're going to need to talk about, and it actually ties in with the in-game management that you have both referred to, and Mark in particular there. Terry, James Forrest starts the game. It's a curveball. You've said it yourself. You didn't see that coming. You know, we were talking the other night and it was like, oh, but boys say Jota's out of form and it goes based on form. Well, that wasn't the decision based on Forrest coming in. Like I say, there has to be reasons why Abada and Jota haven't started. But see, for me, if they can get them both on, if I can start one of them and then take them off, because we could have maybe had a more compelling lead than the 1-0 one that we did have, and then bring on maybe a Forrest if it's needed. Do you know what I mean? And maybe the races run. But to bring them on, again, the Forrest one for me, I just felt at half time. This is the in-game management thing I think you're referring to, Matt. You know, Terry, when you look at this is one example, I mean. But Terry, when you look at Forrest's first half display, I mean, I didn't think that was rocket science that he's got to come off at half time. And by the way, we've had laughs at times about what winger's coming off at half time. There's always a winger that comes off at half time. So he's went a wee bit against the grain with that decision as well that he normally does. If he doesn't like a winger's display, usually he does the hook at half time. But we have to be honest. James Forrest's display today, I felt he was slow in taking him off.
He wasn't having any influence on the game whatsoever. No. I mean, I felt sorry for Johnson at times because Johnson, obviously, he's new. It's his first game. That lad's got to be carrying a lot of nerves, a lot of apprehension. But you're expecting then Forrest to sort of help him through. And there might be a school of thought that James Forrest playing that experienced head was to help Johnson through the game. He did very little for Johnson. He did very little for the team. And I'm not going to be hard on James. It's very difficult for a player to come in from the cold, maybe start once every 4 and you're expected to go in there and perform. But, he was put in that position. The manager picked him. He goes in there and he tries his best, but he was having absolute minimal impact on the game. And Barisic was rocky. There was a couple of times, there was one time Barisic gave possession away and you're thinking, he's not on his game here at all. And given the history with Abada and Barisic, I would have thought if Abada was fit, Abada had to start that match. Honestly, yeah. I don't get that one at all. I'm gonna give the manager the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna say Abada must be one of the players affected by the virus or bug or whatever you want to call it, because his input, output, whatever way you want to look at it, in the Celtic Rangers game since he's joined has been nothing short of superb.
Mark, we'll come to you because Benny Sill's desperate to get his comment on the screen. He's having to call me out to get his... I mean, there's 313 watching live, Benny Sill. I'm sorry if you've not had your comment brought up in the first 26 minutes. Jeez, mate, there's quite a lot of people commenting. Stay calm. But we need to be accurate here. Mark has literally just said he's never wanted the Celtic manager to do as well as Ange. Yet, you're saying he's always attacking the manager. I think observing the manager's decisions and not agreeing with every single one of them is a fundamental gift of a Celtic supporter. If ever you've known an era, I remember Brendan Rodgers' second season, he was getting it tight for sideways football and stuff like that. During towards the end of the 69-game unbeaten run, there's people who, it's got a bit dull. So let's be real here. We're allowed to then critique situations. That's what the whole purpose of the bus is debate. It's meant to engage. It's meant to go, if you disagree, we'll bring up your comments. But guess what? I can't just bring up every single comment, Benny Sill. But you've got to be accurate. And if you think Mark's attacking the manager at every opportunity, I'm sorry, that's inaccurate. It's untrue. And I will defend Mark on that. Do I agree with everything Mark says? No, far from it, and vice versa. But guess what? We're big enough to have a debate about it. So there's no need to get personal and stuff like that. And I think definitely, I don't need to talk for Mark on that, but stuff like that, I think we need to be honest about it and go, come on. We did have a bad day though, Mark. I don't think you've been unfairly attacking the manager. The way I've seen it is there was decisions there that are up for scrutiny. And I definitely think the starting lineup ones that we're talking about are up for debate. And I think, let's talk about other in-game management decisions. Kyogo being kept on, I didn't agree with. Guess what? I was wrong. He scores the equaliser. I thought he was a shoo-in to be taken off. He stuck with it, he got it right. But then you look at the timing of a Giakoumakis coming on, I felt that was later in the day than I maybe expected to be. But this is all just different perspectives, different points of views. Judge Kearney.
Well, I think there's a huge element in your support, and I mean a huge element in support that don't like any opinions that don't match the narrative. I mean, if you come out and say something that you feel like needs brought up, they feel like you're actually slagging the club for no reason. I mean, we did a show a couple of weeks ago when we appointed Peter Lawwell, a utterly horrendous decision by your club to appoint that guy. And there was folk calling the show, basically we were giving the press and giving the Rangers fans something to talk about. I don't think the Rangers fans or the press watched this show, to be quite honest with you. We would just comment on how we felt about that situation. I'm not even going to... They call Benny Hill for a reason, fuck's sake. No, I don't think anybody on the chat, his opinion is less valuable than mine, but I'm standing here, same as yourself, Terry, and giving it to everybody who wants to listen to it, and I've not got a problem with folk thinking that I'm wrong. That's fine. But I tell you something, I got a lot of stick today for suggested me edition they've started, rightly so. But can I tell you something? Nobody mentioned the fact that I said Moy and O'Reilly, Moy should have started for O'Reilly, and that would have said one sub. I said Forrest shouldn't have started. That would have said another sub. Not only that, it puts Barisic, as Terry said, having nightmares thinking about that. I mean, they must have got encouragement. The minute they seen that lineup, they must have thought, there's a wee bit of opportunity here for us. And if they didn't think that says more about their mentality than what it does us. I thought the in-game management today was poor by Ange. I think to bring on Jota and Giakoumakis for 14 minutes was...
We've seen what Jota did as well when they build up to that goal, Mark.
Listen, I mean, I had somebody say to me all day there, maybe on my group chat and my brothers or somebody on Twitter saying that Jota's been poor. Jota's played about 40 minutes of football since the World Cup finished. I mean, how much time or how little time can somebody play and be judged to be in poor form. Matt O'Reilly, I know you disagree with me, Boise, but Matt O'Reilly has been absolutely horrific for Celtic since the World Cup finished. He's been horrific. How he's getting a game for Celtic, I do not know. There must be more to that situation as well, because Aaron Moy was getting game time when he was doing absolutely nothing in a Celtic jersey. Aaron Moy's looking a right handful for the other team.
I thought Moy made a wee bit of a difference today. I really did.
See, Moy come on, actually, his physicality. I actually thought when he brought on Ryan Jack, I don't like the guy, but I thought they won the midfield. I mean, Carl McGregor was picking the ball up, facing his aim goal for 30 yards out. Now, see when Carl McGregor's gone that deep into the Celtic half, that's not a good sign for Celtic. That's not a good sign. Celtic, he's normally picking the ball up when about the halfway line, and he's turning straight away.
I thought Callum was quiet today. I thought Callum was a bit...
He was. His first half, I thought he was pretty good, but Terry, they actually quite habitually win the midfield battle against Celtic. I think Celtic quite often give that up. O'Reilly and Hatate dominated in the 3-0 game last February, I think it was. But see, normally Celtic kind of gear up the midfield and just pass through them, because they win it by being with a physical presence. And we're never going to get that with guys like Callum McGregor and Hatate and even Matt O'Reilly. He said he tends to pick himself up more than picking the ball up in these games. No, I feel like any praise of this club and our players is totally justified. Any criticism of this club and these players are totally justified. I spend enough time talking about Celtic, thinking about Celtic, and I spend enough money fucking supporting the club to have my opinion on that one as well. So
no, I think that's fair.
There's something we haven't touched on yet, and it's quite a serious matter. What the fuck is going on with Jota's moustache? What in the hell of Freddie Mercury is going on there?
I know that needs chopped off.
Maybe he's one of those fuckers though. He's just that good looking. He's like, I'm just going to push the boundaries a bit here. See how far I can get.
Was he doing November and fucking just let it go on?
Fine, I could grow a bit of moustache than that. That's insane.
You need to start now if you're doing November next year.
I need a couple of Messi's fucking steroids, mate. You know what I mean?
Mine goes ginger, so I can't tell up.
But you know the impact shot it has in that goal. It's there to be seen. If that's him maybe unwell or out of form or out of favour, whatever they want to describe it as for his non-inclusion, he still did more in his 15 minutes than Forrest did. This isn't a big attack.
No, I think it was, boys. See, after the Livingston game, Ange came out after the Livingston game and totally slaughtered the Celtic players and said certain players want to get in positions. I think we all know that Jota was one of them. And he's been punished ever since, and that punishment was he's went 3 games if you're getting a start. But see if it was one game that a guy had to play, and I know Maeda scored, but see if you actually look at see if Maeda was playing the right hand side, he still intercepts that ball. Well, Maeda's all that front.
Let's go to Terry and let's get to the goals, because we did score 2 today, guys.
Yeah,
and you know Phil had he had the headlines written, Terry, and it was just a shame we didn't get the win. But it's after 5 minutes, Phil must be sitting with his crystal ball thinking, I'm fucking got this gig sorted, because Maeda Monday is the headline after Samaras Sunday 10 years ago. Phil McGinley had jotted down, and after 5 minutes, I tell you what, 2 guys that they count on as the most experienced players, that Rangers, right, is Morelos, right, and Tavernier, right? Now, I know Morelos, I mean, fucking hell, Greg Taylor nailed it, right? I don't even need to go into what he said, because for a professional footballer to be that unfit is
unbelievable. The state of him, you could see a big fucking circle where his belly button. He made me proud of his shape. But
we'll go to the goal. He blindly decides to spray. I mean, I think he's got it in his locker when he's fully fit. 25-yard ball, right? And it gets intercepted by Maeda, who takes a bit of a donkey of a touch, but he's got there. And you just know the pressure he's putting on Tavernier. Tavernier's conscious. This isn't O'Reilly pressing him. This isn't a tie. You're aware of the individual because it's Maeda, and he shits himself. Maeda pinches it off him, slots it home so comfortably. Just very quickly before we talk about the goal, there was then 10 minutes later, Maeda pressed the other cornerstone of their brief success in this league, and that was Goldson, right? And he put pressure on him, closed him down. Goldson shat the bed and hoofed it right out the park. And I went, he's conscious not of a Celtic player pressing him, but it being Maeda. And I think these good aspects to Maeda, I think off the ball, if you were playing Football Manager or Championship Manager, whatever, he'd be a 20 for that, because he is unbelievable off the ball. And he actually now has created this bit of aura about him that he's making even experienced campaigners completely shit themselves when he's closing them down. And it was to great effect for the first goal, Terry.
I think the World Cup's also played a part in that as well, Boyce, because he's, you think these things don't really mean anything, but you've got the English media sitting talking up Dyson Maeda during the World Cup and about the contribution he was making for Japan, his work rate, and all of that kind of thing. And yeah, look, you said it exactly correct there. Those two guys shot themselves whenever they were faced with Maeda, because you're thinking, this guy's going to be down my throat here. As soon as I get this ball, he's going to press me. He's going to close me down. And the thing I was delighted about was his finish. And we look back at last week. He was a bit rash with a couple of headers and things like that. Then he scored the excellent goal where he cut in onto his right. I do think he's left-footed. I think I'm right in saying that. But those two goals that he scored this week and last week were with his right foot, which I'm presuming then is his wrong foot. Excellent, absolutely superb. I mean, you're probably thinking going through him, McGregor. Is Maeda the one person we want going through on the Rangers goal? Possibly not on past experience, but he took it superbly. And I thought
confidence, Terry, as well. Confidence is such a key thing.
An excellent game, and yeah, the confidence is going through him. The confidence is going through him at the moment. He's had a World Cup. He's got a good publicity coming from that. He scored a wonder goal last week, and he's playing on the crest of a wave, and fully justified his starting position today.
I agree with that, Mark. Undeniably, what we've got with Maeda, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, 2 minutes after his goal, or about 3 minutes after it, whatever it was, he gets the ball in the left, first time crossing his left foot and balloons it about 30 yards, like fucking across their goal. And you go, the good and the bad. But listen, I compared him last season to Didi Agat at times, and I says, look, see, the thing is, Agat could knock the ball at the byline and do 10 shitey crosses, but he's going to hit the byline that many times. 2 or 3 of them are going to be on a plate for a Henrik, a City, or a Hearts and right. I see with Maeda, he's going to consistently get in either scoring positions or positions to get an assist. Yes, he's going to get some really badly wrong, but when he's confident like this, there is undeniably a wee bit of fear he's putting in. And as I say, this wasn't two Rangers sort of. See if he'd been against Sands and he put pressure under him. I mean, he'd have been frightened anyway. He'd have been frightened if I was putting pressure on the ball under him. But undeniably, Maeda's now building up a wee bit of, presence, mate, that when he closes you down, he's going to nick it off you. He's forcing errors. He's forcing mistakes. It's then what he does with it that's going to be key. But the composure he shows for that finish, and by the way, just to tie it in with the last game, the 2 misses, the strength of character he showed to go, fuck it, watch this, and curls it top bins. You look at those 2 instances and you go, he's going to go on. If the World Cup gave him this confidence, then his last 2 games in a Celtic shirt, Mark, are going to springboard that even further.
He's some brass neck. It doesn't matter how many times he misses a chance, he'll just go for it, mate. I don't think he's got a mindset like a lot of players who would just be downbeat after missing a sitter. I don't know if you noticed, but Aaron McCoy twice mentioned that, and he actually went out his way to mention it, that you can just look at Maeda and just think he's going to get pace. And I'm guilty of this myself, very much guilty of saying he's just get pace and not much else. He says, but McCoy said, I watched in the World Cup, he's got so much more to him than just pace. Maybe we're beginning to see a wee bit of, maybe it was a confidence thing where maybe the World Cup's given him a wee boost.
Oh, it has.
You could see the guy's confidence a wee bit. Probably no doubt his inability. He's probably just been a wee bit down with some of the support. No back them as much as they should. But I don't think the guy cares. I think the guy's fucking. He's a machine. I don't think he actually cares about how many chances he misses. I just want to think about his crossing. I think a cross is only a bad cross and nobody's on the end of it. A lot
there was another example, wasn't there?
And there was Hatate Hatate beat that boy on the byline and crossed the ball, and it was so inviting. Nobody was there. Now, one of my biggest gripes this season, Celtic have scored a ton of goals, right? But I think we could have scored another 30 more if we had somebody in the right areas in the box. Mm-hmm. We're pinging balls. It's just Ralston especially. He's pinging balls across that face of that goal, and that's criminal. As you see a Hearts and a Larson or something, they're tucking him away, or at least they're getting balls in across that box. And Kyogo scored today, and you were right in saying that you were wanting Kyogo off, but you're proven wrong. Now, you're only proving Ryan because he was in the right position at that time. His performance today was absolutely horrific, boys, and he plays a lot of horrific performances, Kyogo. But I'm not wanting Kyogo to be. I'd rather have Kyogo stick the ball in the net than play well and miss.
Yeah.
So don't take me wrong.
It's hard to get that balance right, because
but you don't get it, boys, because you don't end up at Celtic. This is the thing. Like, we're a big club, but we don't get players that, if we've got a winger who we go Jota, and we say, I think Jota's got much missing, right? He's probably one of the players. I don't think Carter Vickers has got much missing, but a lot of the players have got an element of their game missing that just stop them if they got to that next level. But you know what? That's why they're at Celtic. Unfortunately, it's hard to take, it's hard to accept that Hart is great shot stopper, but slow to adapt to the new type of football that the world's playing, and that's why Spurs didn't want him, that's why Man City didn't want him. The fact of the matter is, we've no got the grab to get players that's at that, or they get at the level where they're just good at everything. And I touched on it 5 minutes ago by the manager. He is going to have elements. He has performance that isn't as strong as others. Hence why he's 57-year-old and he's just come out of Japan. I mean, you listen to your support and it's trust the process, and they think Ange invented football. They think Ange created the ball to make it round so that Celtic would play better with it. It's not the case. I mean, we as Celtic fans could speak about any manager's decision, any player missing a chance. It doesn't mean we hate them. I mean, if Steve Kyogo misses that chance today, which by the way, see 19 out of 10, Kyogo does hit that ball at the bar, right? And you criticise that. It would just you'd be criticising that display, or criticising that, that effort to go. It wouldn't be criticising the guy wanting the guy deported back to Japan. It's just some people just can't accept that in their support, where they just get this mindset where if you see anything that isn't rosy and happy clapping and glitter and gold, that you're wanting the club to go backwards. I personally think Maeda summed up the day for me. I don't think Maeda should have started. But see, when you see the performance he put in, the pressing he was doing, I totally understand why he started. I totally understand. I put a poll on Twitter last night, and I put 3 selections: Maeda and Abada, which I didn't fancy. Kyogo and Abada, or Kyogo and Maeda. And I thought Jota and Abada, or Jota and Maeda would probably be the selection. I didn't see Forrest coming, right?
No.
I don't think Maeda's inclusion was a bad decision. I thought that the partnership was bad. And I think Maeda suffered through that, because I think some of the crosses, some of the runs to the back post, runs down the wing would have been a lot more fruitful for Celtic if we had somebody the ability of Abada getting in the back post. Terry touched on it. Barisic hates the thought of playing against. I think what's happened, this is the only thing I can think of, is when Forrest was up against Paddy Roberts, I think Forrest won that battle because Forrest tracks back more. I think Ange thought Forrest might protect Johnson more defensively. After 5 minutes watching that game, that wasn't going to be the case. They tried very early to test Johnson. They found out that boy's a player, and they didn't really go for that wing at all. We've said that a few times on here. You play Real Madrid, you play Shakhtar Donetsk, you play Leipzig, you play teams with real tactical nous, and every single manager is targeted Juranovic. That can't be a surprise to anybody. But it can't be a coincidence. It can't be a coincidence, boys. See the days.
It became one-dimensional. It became one-dimensional at times, what they were doing. And by the way, it's a great effect. Terry.
Guys, Phil put a comment up there a couple of minutes ago. Maeda had a wonderful cross in the game, and the ball came across, and Kyogo or Forrest, neither of the two of them were able to get onto it. But it was so reminiscent of that goal that Abada has scored against Rangers twice already, where he ghosts in at the back post, gets in front of Barisic and puts it in the net. It was just that same opportunity looking at you right in the face again. But Forrest didn't anticipate it in the same way as Abada did. And that's why Abada's figures are so impressive, because he anticipates the ball coming to him and he gets in the position. And honestly, it would have been 3 goals exactly the same if Abada had been on the park at that time. He'd have put that in the net. He'd have ghosted it in front of Barisic. It would have been the same goal that we've seen already twice before. I seen Phil mentioning it there, and it just resonated with me because I was thinking the same thing. Abada would have been in there. He'd have anticipated the ball getting to him. He'd have been in the position to put it in the net. And again, we're not fucking being hard on James Forrest. He's been a Celtic great. I just think I just couldn't believe Forrest played ahead of Abada when we see the impact Abada's had on these games previously.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was a surprise, and I think Forrest was a bit hesitant at that back post with the opportunity that was presented by Maeda's dangerous ball, not the big floaty one 2 minutes before it, but his dangerous ball. Yeah, I think there was a bit of hesitancy there for Forrest, but if you anticipate it, like you just know Abada would. Abada's got that. One of the things about Abada that I love, Terry, as well, is he's got the innocence of youth, the naivety of youth, where you fucking gamble every time, mate. He doesn't think about it. He's just already in there.
He's got that great Glasgow quality of callousness.
Callousness, mate. Yeah, definitely. There's a bit of callousness in him. I like that. That's a good way to put it. But here we find ourselves, Terry, after a 2-2 draw, 9 points clear, 20 goals clear. We'd all it took this at the start of the season after 20 matches played. It is a brilliant position to be in. There's further strengthening made done to the squad. We know we've just signed the J-League Player of the Year. I don't think Katati was ever J-League Player of the Year.
I thought he might have been. I was chatting about that.
There was someone in there.
What you might have been.
Tell us we're having a pop at Atati or something by saying that. Atati's amazing, right? But I think if this boy's been J-League Player of the Year, he's got to be another find. We look at the display by Johnston today, who's arrived, and you go, fucking hell, he was brilliant. And another interesting element of the recruitment made is Kobayashi instantly elevated to a place on the bench at the expense of Moritz Jens, who, I am not Nostradamus or all that bullshit.
He's gone.
I said, I've got a feeling if Starfelt's instantly straight back in the team and you've had a run at it, that would tell me you've not took the really you were signed to force like Starfelt into trying to fight for his place back. The fact he just came straight back in tells me he's not done enough. Now he's not on the bench. Kobayashi's on the bench. Johnson's been brilliant today, and we've got the J-League Player of the Year. We've been very impressed by the J-League recruits so far, Ideguchi aside. So, the recruitment looks very good. The 9-point gap looks very good, Terry. The 20 goals ahead looks very good. And I do suspect there'll be more activity in this window, outgoings and incomings, and all to our benefit right now. But in a good place here. It was a display I felt was pretty poor. The fact we're still coming out with a point at the end of it suits me dandy. 9 points clear at this stage is excellent. And right now, we're doing well.
It's probably a good thing, Boycey, that we had that performance today, because I think it, if we go in there and we win 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, as people were saying, that we might do, it probably paints a picture that there's no room for improvement here. We don't need to do anything. I think today that, the manager will realise, there is still room for improvement there. You've touched on the centre-back position. I'm loath to go in there as I normally do on Starfelt, but my goodness, fucking hell, that guy, I just don't get it. Sometimes when we're under pressure, he defends well. I'll give him that. But see his distribution, it's calamitous. His decision-making for that penalty that was never a penalty kick. If Chris Boyd said it's not a penalty, it's not a fucking
that's
penalty.
where we're going next.
I'm taking you there. I'm taking you there. That's never a penalty kick in a million years. Starfelt there's two players to blame. Juranovic gets skinned, and Starfelt gives John Beaton, a Rangers supporter, a chance to give Rangers a penalty kick. And
I agree.
We're not talking about this through Celtic supporter glasses. We've been talking about these decisions when we've been winning matches, and that's why I feel that we can still discuss them now. We're not taking it thick because it was given in a Rangers Celtic game. That's never a penalty in a million years. Chris Boyd said live on Sky, it's never a penalty. That guy was down. He was already gone. But the problem I have is Starfelt gave John Beaton the opportunity to give a penalty kick. I don't blame John Beaton, because if you, me, or Mark Kearney were refereeing that match and you support your team and you get given that opportunity, you'll fucking point to the spot. I'd have pointed to the spot before you even got there. So I don't blame John Beaton. However, the fact there was absolutely nothing from the VAR room to say you might want to have a wee fucking look at this. It's not as clear cut as you first thought. It's an absolute fucking outrage. It's never a penalty kick in 100 years. The other one, we fast forward to, where Goldson comes out with the two hands above his head. I don't know if that touched his hands because I can't see it well enough on the screen, but the narrative seems to be it touched his hands. If he's coming out with his two hands above his head like that and it hits his hand, there's got to at least be a wee John. You might want to have a fucking quick look at this. Was Willie even at the game today? Was Willie there? Was
in the caravan?
Was the VAR seat? Was there anybody actually in there? Because there was nothing went to VAR the whole fucking game, as far as I could see.
Let's do the decisions one by one. Mark Kearney, we'll go to the judge for his verdict on these. We'll do the decisions one by one. I'll give my take on the Starfelt one. My hunch was it was a penalty at the time. I've looked at the replays. I still think I'd be appealing that as a Celtic fan, Terry, if I'm honest, right? I do think I would be claiming it. I think there looked to be contact on his right boot. But the fact of the matter is, John Beaton being a Rangers fan or a non-Rangers fan, if Carl Starfelt wants to dive in away from home at Ibrox,
yeah, exactly.
You know,
he gave him the opportunity. It's fucking brain dead. Absolutely brain dead.
And it was needless. I think those Sakala kind of spooked them a wee bit, if I'm honest with you. I thought obviously after Taylor had came off in particular, I thought Sakala had spooked them a bit and he sort of panicked Starfelt, which isn't a great trait to have. You know, he's looked very good in games. We've given him plenty of praise, particularly in the most recent match at Easter Road. He was excellent. But he just seemed to flap there and he panicked. Mark, was that a penalty, the first one that Rangers were given?
Mute, Mark.
Oh, I put you on mute, Mark.
I think he was.
Sorry, Mark. Start again. I put you on mute when you'd left the table. Apologies, mate.
Oh, that's okay, mate. No, I think I had problem with my heating, mate. I had to go and fix it there. No, I feel like I agree with Terry because I don't think it was a penalty kick, but I also agree with you as the point that you made where you would be appealing for it. I think the guy fell himself. He's put his foot down and he stood on top of Starfelt's feet. If anything, that's a fucking free kick to a Celtic player, first on his feet. But what can I say? The guy dived in there for no reason. I
don't
blame Beaton for giving it, Mark. I blame the other guy for not correcting him.
And did he look at it for long enough?
No, he didn't look at it
for long enough. That's the interesting thing, because we've seen decisions, Mark, 2, 3, 4 minutes, getting looked at for goals that are blatantly goals. Did they look at that long enough?
No. Well, there's a clip of Carl McGregor speaking to Beaton, and Beaton says it's not up to me when he was talking to him. So he's McGregor's maybe asked him to go and look at a penalty decision for Celtic. The handball, I was just saying to Terry earlier on, didn't realise I was still on mute. I mean, no, it's fine. He actually saved the ball. Conor Golson got 2 horns to it, Terry. But we've seen about 4 or 5 decisions that have been the same at Rangers games this season, where it's been a clear handball and it's not been given. Whereas the evidence I've seen is if it touches your pinky, no matter where, it's even touches your thumb, any part of your hand, it's a penalty. But if you win a Rangers strip, it seems to be a different rule altogether. They're cheating bastards. I keep on repeating it. We're playing against 14 men now. I mean, I don't know how. The first one I will say is a Celtic fan, and I tend to be balanced with some of my. See, much as I can't stand the bastards, if they play well, I say they deserve to get a victory, etc. I can see why that was given, but nobody can tell me that wasn't a penalty for Celtic. That was a penalty all day long, and I think see if the referee's getting the decision made for him, then what's he there for? He should be running out of that. As soon as VAR's stopping a decision, and it's one that for a clear and obvious area. He should be getting involved in that decision.
100%. So who's refereeing that?
So if a linesman, if a referee can stop what he's doing to run there to talk to a manager or an official or a substitute for being too loud in the technical area, he can spend the same amount of time running at the same bit to look at a telly. It's a 3, 4, 5 second clip that gets repeated. All he's got to do look at that. It didn't take 6, 4, 5, 6 minutes. This is the thing. Penalty decisions are very big decisions. They're just as big as a red card or chopping a goal off. These need looked at by the man in the middle of the park. No the VAR, because see when a bad decision has been made against a club, it's a referee that gets the stick. So if he's got his name on the game as being the official, he has got to be the one making decisions. Now this is got to change because we are talking about it. But it just shows you. I mean, I said we did a show pre-season, we talked about VAR coming in, and I said at the time, and I stick by it, VAR will be used as a mechanism to justify bad decisions against Celtic. We've seen it already. They're looking at all these wee avenues and subjective views to try and give decisions against Celtic. And then a totally different argument's been placed when it's happened to Rangers. There was one, even when somebody happened today, and Alan McCoy was like, "Oh no, that's an argument for another day." I think Andy Walker said, surely he should have went to the telly there to see that. Andy.
I heard that. I picked up on that.
And Alan, he went, "That's an argument for another day." No, it's no. And Terry, you said as well, like, if you feel like, you're not the person that said this, you can only mention things when we win. I think if you win 5-0 or get beat 6-0, see the referee made a bad display, I think you're entitled to say, look, that's no right. I mean, there was Bernabei got a free kick against him when we scored a goal. I think it was against Motherwell at Celtic Park. For no reason whatsoever. The referee just went, fuck it, free kick. And Bernabei got booked because he ran by him laughing and saying, what the fuck was that?
And
there was one day.
We won 4-0, so you can't say it.
I'm sure he's watching. There was one day Scott Cameron brought up, I think we won 6-0 or 7-0 or something, but he brought it up. The ref blew the game up 10 seconds early, and Scott was saying, I'm just making this point. We've won 6 or 7-0, but he actually blew the game up 10 seconds early.
That's happened twice this year. That's happened twice this season. That happened in a away game maybe a week or two ago, and the referee blew before half time, and you go, no, a referee hasn't got poetic license to make changes in the rules of the game. He's there to officiate to the rules of the game.
Yep.
I think if a free kick is a free kick, see if a yellow card's a yellow card in the first minute, it's a yellow card in the 89th minute. But referees in this country especially seem to be given this poetic license to say, I'm not become just now. I'm not getting away a penalty. I've already gave him to. Play the rules of the game. And we're finding in Scotland, especially, if you've reached the level of commitment that you're a referee, you've watched football your full life, you're committed to that sport, and it's a fact that anybody that's got that far in football is a Rangers fan. As I say, here in Australia...
He's just saying about the referee being a known Rangers fan.
Well, see in England...
they've got to declare it.
They've got to declare it. See in Scotland, we see that as, you can't do that. I said this in last week's TNF. UEFA and FIFA admit bias because somebody from Italy can't referee an Italian game, or they can't referee an England game if they're an English referee. So they admit that there's a part of your brain that's just no balanced, or it would create.
I actually thought
create like some sort of controversy. So how come in this country, and it's not the first time? I mean, that referee, is it Bobby Tate? We spoke about it before. Boys say as a gift by the SFA, he was given the last game at Rangers. When we stopped 10 in a row, the last game at Ibrox, there was no added on time at that time. He gave Rangers about 5 minutes to score a goal. And the most hilarious thing that's ever happened in Scottish football is it resulted in Kilmarnock scoring a goal instead.
Ali
Mitchell. They lost the match and we won the league because of it. But the SFA gifted a Rangers fan
control of the game. I actually thought Beaton had a good game. I thought Beaton had a
good game. He'll be in trouble for that. See, there was a point where I think it was the 94th minute and Celtic got a free kick and I went, that was a bit soft. And I thought to myself, you'll get your ass kicked for that, mate. You need to toe the party line. You can't be giving Celtic soft free kicks.
Was this Carter Vickers and the guy wrestling and he gave it Celtic play?
It was just before that, I think it was. It was like a free kick we won just before that. It was very soft, and I went, "That's no a referee who's going to be getting the final." I wouldn't blame him
for giving the penalty because on first look, that looks a penalty. I blame the VAR for not intervening. I don't blame him for not giving the Goldson handball because it was so fast. I didn't think it was a handball first time, but when you watch it on the video, yes, you see it. So I thought Beaton was okay. And wasn't giving out yellow cards.
The point of VAR, Terry. It's kind of the point of VAR.
Yeah.
If you miss it with your naked eye, you go to the technology. His hands are up there. It's like it's not.
I thought Beaton for a Rangers fan had a pretty decent game.
Nice,
other than he got those 2 penalty decisions wrong. But on first view, I would have agreed with his decision without seeing the replay.
Just shows you how bad it is, Terry, that as a Celtic fan, we're saying a referee had a good performance and he gave away a penalty that's dubious and chopped off another one that Celtic should have got, and we're content with it.
I know.
How many times did we go Ibrox in the 90s and early 2000s? And
I'm just so delighted getting away with a point, honest to fuck. I'm not even that annoyed about anything. I'm just so happy to get away with parity, honestly.
I wouldn't even give them airtime, but Boyce is right. It's probably something we need to discuss. But the referee today was very off. I think he's got a bug because normally he'd be in amongst trying to break up Celtic's attacks, letting Rangers give foul after foul. But today was a bit.
How do you referee a game like that, though, Mark? How do you referee a game like that if you're a fan? Like, put you, me, Boyce, anybody, any Celtic fan, put you in that position where you're refereeing a game where you absolutely love one of the teams. How the fuck do you referee it like?
Just look at videos for 1888 to 2020, mate. You'll see exactly how a biased referees a match.
I know, but if it was me, I'd be giving fucking penalties all around.
I would send 4 Rangers players off in the tunnel. I would have no qualms. I would go see Bobby Madden out last year. He played he refereed the semi-final, and there was talk on post-match on one of the pods that he had put his notice in. He was going away, so he knew that he was leaving after that was his last big match, and he went, "Fuck it, I'm going all out today." And anybody that watched that performance, I'm sure there was that English referee that they call the Oracle in England, and he said that they should have sent off Lundstrom 4 times. And the guy didn't get a yellow card. I think he was something like 30 fouls in the match.
That was right.
He didn't even get a yellow card. And
semi-final.
He went all out, boys. I must admit, see, if somebody gave me a whistle and Celtic played, that would be the highest scoring game that Celtic have ever took part in, because they'd get 50 penalties. There'd be 8 red cards. I'd run amok. And they did any different. They just did a bit more slyer. And by sly, I mean they just touched the edge of complete cheating. Just touched the edge of it.
Someone watching in Japan comes in. I'm sorry I can't pronounce your name. I do apologise. But I love... we've got someone watching in Brazil right now as well. So amazing. There's 417 live. Big thank you for that. Of course it is. Celebrating, what is we've came away with a point and 9 clear, 20 goals clear. And you're absolutely right, our Japanese Celtic supporter, because he's saying he was disappointed Celtic didn't win today's game. He thought it was great that we did not give Rangers any momentum by drawing with it. And I think this is the thing. Let's focus our attention on what it means now in the grander context, Terry, because from a Celtic point of view, right, we know we can play better than today, right? We fucking know it. But Angel also be acutely aware he didn't actually play his full-strength team. Deep down, that isn't his full strength. I know you'll say it's a squad game, but every manager deep down knows probably who their best 11 is, right? He'll know that wasn't his best 11 that he started today. We'll know even that 11, though, could have played far better. He'll know the importance of the late goal, because it knocks that winning streak that Beale was on, despite, I've said, sort of blunderbussing their way through it. They've got 4 wins out of 4. I think now, though, that winning runs came to an end, and it's the timing of the goal. It knocks the stuffing out you. It does put the title race pretty much to bed. And I definitely think, Terry, right now, for their point of view, they've just got to feel any sort of energy that they were maybe beginning to think, any sort of bouncy, they were beginning to think the trampolines just went a wee bit flat on that big boy.
You can imagine the amount of messages that were sort of 3/4 of the way typed, ready to send just before Kyogo fucking banged that into the net. Do you know what I mean? And Mickey's probably thought to himself, "Do you know what? I've hit the money here."
Oh fuck! He was writing his own headlines by then.
I'll be honest. I always give him a wee mention. I was sitting with my dad, and we were watching the game, and I'm not joking. It's about 5 seconds before Kyogo scored, I turned around and said to him, "I just don't see how we're going to get one." And then as soon as we scored, he starts shouting, "I don't see how we're going to get one. What the fuck do you know?" But no, if you're a Rangers fan, you're going to be absolutely crestfallen after that. You've probably thought to yourself, "Yeah, do you know what? We're back in it. 6 points. We've got half the season still to go. We've put in a good shift," which I thought they did. I thought I probably have to hold my hands up and say, if Rangers had won the game today, I probably couldn't argue with it. As much as I thought they got a dodgy penalty, as much as I thought we didn't get a penalty we should have, I thought they just looked hungrier. I thought the players made better in-game decisions, as we've said before. I couldn't have argued with us losing that game. But if you're a Rangers supporter sitting tonight, you're probably thinking, what the fuck have we got to do to beat this lot? Yep. I think there was enough there was enough there from a Celtic perspective that we don't sleep at the wheel as we have done in the past. We're going into January now, where we've got another 4 weeks where we can sort of start to look for players thinking ahead to the Champions League next year. I think there's enough doubt from today's performance where we're sort of thinking, do you know what? Possibly we might not have been thinking about another player here, another player there. I think we now have to, because the performance wasn't good enough today. Yes, we've got away with it. Yes, the 9 points are still intact. Yes, we're going to be champions. Yes, we're going straight into the Champions League. That's another 40 million. But I think today generates enough doubt where the powers that be sort of think, do you know what, we might still have a bit of work to do here, because that wasn't great. That wasn't the dominating performance we thought we were going to have. They're maybe not as far behind as we thought they were going to be. Mickey Bull might generate another 10-15% performance at the start of next season. I think today's worked out okay for us over the whole piece. As much as we're slightly disappointed with how we've performed, We've got out of jail, we've got a result, and I think there's enough doubt created there where, I think there could be more work done in January than was maybe planned for. If we go and win that game 3-4-0 and the league is completely done and dusted and we're giving each other high fives, and, there might be a school of thought that, do you know what, we don't need to do anything here. I think that performance today sort of highlights that there is still work to be done, and hopefully that gets done over the next few weeks.
Well, I think so. I think it does give them more questions than answers, Mark. And we need to look at, obviously, the competition. There's 2 teams involved today, right? From Celtic's point of view, I think it reinstills the belief that even when we're not at our best, even when it's not been the best lineup, even when arguably decisions, haven't went our way again, we've got a draw at our toughest away fixture in the league, right? We've remained 9 points clear. And that sort of reinstills the belief to go on another one of those runs, Mark. You know what I mean? Which we've got to admit, 18 wins for 19 had only been achieved by Brendan Rodgers and Martin O'Neill, I think, season 3 before. Not even Jock Stein had done that. So 18 wins for 19 this season. And that reinstills today the belief, not the other way around. For their point of view, wow, this is now turning into a bit of a hoodoo. What the fuck do we do to beat these bastards? You know what I mean? That's how they're feeling. And that's a good place to be in. And I think as well, the fact that you can, reach that sort of height of hope, and then it just to be taken away from you in an instant by one swipey Kyogo's right boot, and reality bites again. I felt we were going to go into the game today, and actually I felt a scalping was potentially on the cards. I thought their manager had maybe talked him into one, and now he's going to obviously feel his ego damaged a wee bit. There's no doubt in my mind that when he was sitting on 89 minutes, or whatever it was, 88 minutes, and it's 2-1, he's sitting there going, I'm the fucking man. Because it's just how he's came across. And he's now beginning to believe his height. And I just think, just let's fucking pull the reins back in on any thoughts of you getting carried away. And at the end of the day, the reality would have been they'd been celebrating and bouncing about today, it being 6 points and 20 or 19 goals behind us. The reality is they're 9 points behind and 20 goals behind as well. And there's only 18 games left of this league campaign. And it's all been done with 1 goal with just a few minutes to go on their own patch, having watched Celtic put in their probably second worst display of the campaign domestically. That's quite hard.
I think the jungle drums were already humming away for him. You know what I mean? He was just kind of expecting to read the papers and more about how he's turned Rangers into this fighting force and Celtic are flat. I think you could see the headlines coming if Celtic lost that match today. You could see them all saying that Celtic are scared of Beale, but Stephen Elliott's correct. I mean, they're celebrating. They were celebrating being 6 points behind rather than us just kind of content with being 9 points behind in front. That's a difference. That's what I'm talking about here. This is a levels of difference. And although it's small margins when you football matches and sometimes even smaller margins can turn the tide. I don't think there was folks saying this morning that Celtic are too good to lose against Rangers. I don't think that's the case. I still think Celtic are too good for Rangers almost every day of the week, but they're not too good to lose against them. I think Celtic woke up this morning and a draw a day wasn't a bad result for Celtic. We got to the point, and do something, another day we could have got 3. I mean, although Rangers did have the better of the game, if you actually look at it, they didn't carve us open very often. The only time I was flirting was when Starfelt had the ball at his feet or Juranovic was in the vision of the camera. They two just always gave me fear, and they've always gave me fear, they two. I mean, I call Starfelt cement feet. I think the run just shakes everyone about him when he's got the ball. And we all know about Janovic, I think. It's no point even mentioning that guy's away soon, thankfully. But no, I think the overall today Celtic, we got the result we wanted. I'm delighted with the fact that Celtic are 9 points clear still. I mean, although we've still got half a season to go, I think that's us bang on half a season roughly. Celtic are in a position where they're going to strengthen. I mean, the centre back was on the bench today. Johnson looks like a player. He looks like he's going to improve that full back position. I think Awata, he looks like his write-up's fucking brilliant. Bob McBob, good to see you, big man. Hope you had a good day there for 87 minutes, big man. But it's a hope that kills you, you know, and I think the Rangers fans would have, if they won the match, they would have won the match and they would have been celebrating all night, as is their right. But they would have also said to themselves, there's 2 games to go, so they could drop points against somebody, they could, you know, there's always that hope. But see, when it's at 9, it does seem a bit like a margin, doesn't it? And I think even the ones like myself who I'm that. Boys, I was at Ibrox. We beat them 2-1. We went 5 points behind. We 3 games to go, and we lost the league. So I was at Fir Park when I looked at the scoreboard. My big mate Bill Evans asked me how long's left, and I looked at the scoreboard and I said 3 minutes, Bill. As I turned round, I can still see it in my mind's eye. I seen the ball getting crossed in and in the back of the net. That is how fast football can change like that.
Yeah,
I've always got that. I've seen too many disappointments for me to be totally convinced the league's finished. In my opinion, Celtic put one of the nails in the coffin today for Rangers season. And going forward, I mean, I think Giakoumakis is probably away. There's talk today about striker, the Korean one. I think one of the press over in Korea said that the Galatasaray on the team that they're talking to is Celtic. So we can bring in a guy who scored 2 goals at the World Cup. Yep. We're going forward at a trajectory that Celtic fans should be expecting, and it's about time. And I look at them and I go, I don't know what's happening with Ryan Kent and Morelos. Morelos, Terry mentioned that I can't get a fucking donut, and he's still up there. I seen this big circle when he was walking, and it was like somebody just done that. Remember the Paul Doughboy, the guy, the white Paul Doughboy, the guy who used to sell the toasted pockets. Somebody just pressed his belly button right in. That's how fat he's got.
It was like Big John Hartson when Wales brought out those tight kits.
The Kappa kits.
And he was, and John Hartson was, I mean, even when he was in his prime, he was still carrying weight, you know what I mean? And that guy just looks so unfit. I mean, that guy should be away for a month to a training program. See if he comes back and he's no fit, you should get rid of him straight away.
The key question is though, Mark, see with Morelos, right? They invested £1 million on him. Did they get that back? Did they make a return on that?
I think he's all his goals have paid for it back a million times over, but I don't think they're going to get find that because I think unless I'm wrong.
Usually you think, we've bought him in for $1 million and it's a player trading model. They'll do well to get £1 million back.
I mean, I made 2 bets on Twitter, 2 direct message bets on Twitter. One of them was I would, and see when Morelos was playing at his best, I said for every pound they get over 8 million quid, I'll give a tenner to charity. I stand by that, and that's when I was getting tipped for £25 million moves. The second bet was I will be a labourer, free of charge, to build that hotel at Celtic Park. That was fluff. The day that was put on, that was fluff. It reminded me of the Camus Lang project when Celtic brought out the fake schematics of the stadium they're going to build. That was just fake. That looked fake. It looks like they went into a class in somebody's high school and just said, "Can you draw me up a hotel for Celtic Park?" And Celtic just pulled it off them. Yeah, that's it. And they 2 bets I think I'm going to win. Today to answer your point, we put one of the 2 nails in the coffin for Rangers season, and we're going to get better. I think there's got players are going to come back into form. I think there's players that are not getting games who are better than the players that are in the positions just now, which is good for the fans because we're going to see a heightened intensity within the squad, and I think Celtic look in a very good place. And as much as who was that guy? That guy Benny Hill. As much as Benny Hill thinks, I think we've got a manager who is going to make Celtic better and better and better.
Yeah,
and long may that continue.
Here's one attitude that comes from the manager, Terry, and we will wrap it up just shortly. But I thought this was really, really poignant, right? We're having a pop at my else, a wee bit of banter, you know. And, you know, obviously for natural reasons, Greg Taylor called him out quite, you know, eloquently while sitting on the deck. It was pretty funny. But the attitude of our two strikers is Kyogo, who I think, bar today, had the potential to end up going on one of those runs where, you know what I mean, the monkey on your back gets too big. Do you know what I mean? When you're not getting a goal against your main rivals and it starts becoming a theme, you know, a talking point.
Aye.
He scored today. We're all breathing sighs of relief. Where's he? In the net, getting the fucking ball back out and racing at the centre circle. That comes for the manager. That attitude is absolutely essential, and maybe one of the main reasons why Ange has a signing policy like he does. The profile of the player, the attitude of the player, the person as well as the player that he talks about so frequently when he's signing someone. I fucking loved seeing that, mate. I just thought that was really, really class. That Kyogo's instinct in that situation, and by the way, not just Kyogo as an individual, that's spread out throughout the team. Whoever it is in that position is doing that. I think that's really refreshing. And it tells you the difference right now between, you know, the mentalities of the two teams. They were doing the bouncy to go 6 behind. We were getting the ball at the net to try and get a winner, when really 9 points clear has left us all pretty satisfied.
Absolutely, Boycey. And I don't want to criticise any young lad who was at the game as a ball boy or anything, but remember we talked about the Celtic ball boys getting the ball to get back and play again, and all, that whole pace thing and that whole thing there. And Ange's got the whole, he's the orchestrator of the whole thing. The ball boys are getting the ball back in fast. There was one moment where the Rangers ball boy got the ball and the Celtic player went to get it off him, and he threw the ball down the line so that time was wasted to try and hang on to the 2-1 victory. And I just thought that was a wee bit poignant, but I'm never going to criticise any young boy for doing that, because I probably kicked it as fucking far as I could myself into next year to try and hold on to the result. But my old lad turned around to me and he goes, fucking hell, there's 7 minutes left. But my attitude was, I said, look, these 7 minutes are 7 minutes for Celtic to get a fucking goal, not just Rangers to get a goal. He was looking at it negatively, thinking there's 7 minutes, Rangers are on top. That's for them. I was in Kyogo's boat. I was thinking there's 7 minutes, we could still get another one here. And honestly, there was part of me thought, you know, we're going to go and sneak one here. We're going to go and do this. Do you know what I mean? We're going to get 3 points here when we deserve absolutely fuck all. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mark, that attitude is absolutely spot on, isn't it? When you see Kyogo going to get the ball, I think that, I know you know we're all happy with the draw, but deep down, I just think it's a refreshing thing, because if that's our attitude, Mark, game in, game out, that'll breed, you know, a winning mentality far quicker than it ever will be bringing on James Sands to try and see out for 3 points, you know? And that's the difference. And yes, it was only a draw we ended up with, but the fact that we're after that win, even though we know we've rode our luck to even get to the point of a point, I think that's really impressive.
I think the Rangers players will have noticed that as well, mate. They'll have noticed straight away that our first thought is turn to try to win this match. And that's dejecting. Losing the goal was dejecting enough, but I puts doubt in their mind, you know what I mean? And I think I agree with Terry. I was like, I can't see us getting a goal here. Here we go. But when we go to 7 minutes extra time, I went, it's a chance for us to win this. I thought, get that ball in the box. I thought with a winner it is. Do you know what? I thought when we equalised, I thought we could do this. See, this could just be so poetic, you know what I mean? That we went from being so bad and we won the match, but it wasn't to be. But Kyogo did that before. I think we scored an equaliser one time and he ran and just grabbed the ball at the back end, and I love that. It's like you're not interested in getting the pass in the back and run towards the fans. You just wanted the Celtic to win the match, because see, a lot of players will just run there and they're about slide right in front of the Celtic fans. He's like, nah, I'll get the Twitter messages later saying thanks very much for the goal. But he just grabbed the ball and put it back on the spot to say, like, let's go again. And that's a mentality you can't teach. And then you heard Alan McCoist in the first half mention lazy play by Rangers, and I don't never see any lazy play by Celtic, and I think that's a big difference in a winning mentality, but also a winning team.
I love that. Terry, I'll give the final word to you. You are the face of P.M.P. after all, mate. How you feeling? 2-2, it finished today, but it was a point well earned.
Aye, boys, I'm absolutely over the moon with the result. Honestly think we got out of jail a wee bit. There's a couple of things I want to say. There's 3 things, 3 points. I want to pay respects to the people who lost their lives in the Ibrox disaster. I want to also pay my respects to Frank McGarvey, who lost his life this weekend. and I want to play a wee tune on my instrument here for Mickey Bow.
Couldn't have said it better myself. See ya.
The seagulls follow Chora. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that?